Hey everybody, before we get started with another Montreal Canadiens video, last video we started with 385 subscribers. Now we're all the way up to 457 subscribers. Let's try to get the climb all the way up to 500 subscribers after this video. Look in the bottom right hand corner of this video and you can click the subscribe button to this channel for all Montreal Canadiens news. The Montreal Canadiens kicked off their training camp on Wednesday with their physicals, and there were some surprises on Wednesday, which saw Carey Price, Mike Hoffman, and Paul Byron all fail their physicals for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the only real surprise on that list was Mike Hoffman, who was actually injured just before training camp began for the Montreal Canadiens, and that puts them in a bit of an interesting spot because Hoffman is a new member of the Montreal Canadiens after signing a 3-year, $4.5 million per year deal this offseason. I think you want a player to be accustomed to the system that they're going to be playing in and get that chance to create chemistry with his new line mates and such. So I think it is a big loss for Hoffman to not be able to participate in training camp. We'll see how long he will be out for this Montreal Canadiens team, but it sounds like he is doubtful to begin the year with the Habs. Now let's get into the fun stuff. We can't exactly read too much into everything that's already transpired at training camp, but the Montreal Canadiens will kick off their preseason tomorrow night against the Toronto Maple Leafs in what should be an interesting lineup for whatever they decide to bring to Toronto. Now there have been some conclusions we can draw from the lines and deep pairings that we've seen so far at the main camp for the Montreal Canadiens. The first big one for me is that the Montreal Canadiens seem keen, specifically Dominic Ducharme and the coaching staff, to leave the line of Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and Tyler Toffoli together. They had some great success during the playoff run for the Habs, and I think it's smart to leave that line combination together because the rest of the lineup is pretty much an unknown in terms of the forwards. There's going to be a lot of new line combinations this year, so I think keeping one that had some chemistry together is a good decision by Dominic Ducharme and company. Now the second line where you might be able to read some things into is the Christian Dvorak with Jonathan Drewen and Josh Anderson line. I really like the makings of this line. Jonathan Drewen does really well in transition for the Montreal Canadiens, and we know that Josh Anderson is at his best when he has a player feeding him the puck so that he can use his skating ability to drive the net. So I think this line does make a lot of sense, and Dvorak is very good at cleaning up messes in the offensive zone and in the defensive zone as well. So there's certainly some potential with this line, but Brendan Gallagher was also absent from camp for family reasons, so he could also be a fit on this line instead of Josh Anderson. It really depends on how they want to deploy this line because you figure that Dvorak will be taking away some of the Philip Deneau defensive responsibilities that left the Montreal Canadiens this offseason, so he could be a good fit on this line as well with Drewen and Dvorak. Now, Joel Edmondson is also day-to-day with an injury, so we got to see Jeff Petrie practicing with Alexander Romanov, and I really think that could be a good chance for this kid to kind of show what he's going to bring to the table this year in the preseason. Assuming that Alexander Romanov does get some time to play in the preseason with Jeff Petrie, he can really show that he deserves more minutes for the Montreal Canadiens this season, and I'm expecting a lot bigger things from Romanov this year. I think he's going to be a big player for the Montreal Canadiens, specifically on that second power play unit, and just in general, the Montreal Canadiens don't have enough puck movers, and this is the type of player that they're really lacking right now, one that has a lot of mobility and can move the puck, and he also has a sneaky bomb of a shot, so I really think Romanov is in store for a big year, and he could be in for a big training camp as well if he continues to be paired with Jeff Petrie. Now, Matthias Norlander and Caden Gooley were both paired with veteran defensemen from the Montreal Canadiens in David Savard and Ben Trott, and I really think they're just trying to get them accustomed to the next level and really giving them that opportunity to see what they can bring to the table in the preseason here. I don't think it's a bad idea because both of these young defensemen do realistically have a shot to make the big club, even if it is a tiny one. They're both going to have big camps in order to do so. But I think the more likely scenario is that you see Chris Weidman or Brett Kulak in the top 6 to start the year for the Habs. And lastly, up front, it also seems like the Montreal Canadiens are going to give Ryan Poehling every chance he can to make the team this year. There are 3 different winger pairings up front that we're seeing right now. Yoel Armia has been practicing with Jake Evans. Ryan Poehling was practicing with Arturi Lehkonen, and Cedric Paquette was practicing with Matthew Perreault. So I really think there's going to be a big competition in the bottom 6 to see who gels with who and who really deserves to make the opening night roster for the Montreal Canadiens this year. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on what you're seeing from the Montreal Canadiens early on in training camp. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.